WhiteBooks. As we are the government appointed GSP and ISO 27001 2000 certified company, nowhere your data or logs will get saved in our server. That is why topmost companies like Inox, SBI, Razorpay, Coca-Cola, KPMG, HUL, IBM, Kia, Procter & Gamble, all these are customers. We will provide different type of APIs like GST API, Eable API and e-Invoice API. Right now I will take you through the e-Invoice API. The first thing is click on sign up and select developers. Enter your basic information like company name or your name and mobile number. Click on submit. It will trigger the OTP to the mobile number whatever you mentioned here. Once you receive the OTP, enter the OTP to create a login with WhiteBooks. Then you can log in by using the email ID and password. The same username and password will send it to your email ID also. So once you log in here, you can see three different type of verticals like GST API, Eable API and e-Invoice API. Right now I will take you through the e-Invoice APIs. So coming to credentials, it will be in a disable mode when you can call us on this mobile number and email ID, so that we will enable it for the testing purpose. You can go to credentials to have a look at client ID, secret ID, username, password and GST numbers. So where I am copying this in my notepad to copy paste and test it out. So here I am going to take you through the e-Invoice APIs, where it is our Swagger where you can test it out. Here you can see different type of enrollment, sandbox and production. There will be a slight change in the base URL coming to sandbox and production. So here I will take you to the first API call coming to the sandbox, which is the authentication API call. ID is always the registered email ID with WhiteBooks, not your client email IDs. Username, you can use our WhiteBooks sandbox testing username and password. In production you can use your client usernames and passwords, where I will show you how to create that username and production in the government website. We will provide the complete PDF how to create that username and password in the e-Invoice website. So here I will pass all the details. Coming to email ID, it will be in a query parameter, remaining all in the header parameters. In sandbox, the email ID is same. Coming to sandbox or production, username, password and GS number will get changed in production, where you will use your client GS numbers. IP address you can pass anything. Client ID and secret ID where I will provide separately for the production access. So when you click on execute, it is going to give you the response like this, where you will get the authentication token, where you have to store that in your database. And it's valid for 6 hours in production, 1 hour in sandbox. You will get the token expiry time also. So the next API call is which get GST and details and get sync GSTN from CP. These are the two API calls where you can fetch the information from the GSTN server and NAC server. The second API call, which is get GST and details, in this API calls you will fetch the information data from the NAC server, not from the GSTN server. If you want to fetch the data from the GSTN server, please use the third API call, not this API call. So there will be a slight 1 or 2 days delay between the NAC server and the GSTN server. So I suggest you to use the third API call here. So I am passing the auth token. In every API call you have to pass the authentication token in the header parameters. So here I am passing the GST number here, which is the authenticated GST number here, and whatever the GS number I am passing it here, it should be the GS number where you want to fetch the information of the GS number. As it's a sandbox GST number, I am passing this in the government website. I think I passed the wrong username. I am just correcting it by entering this. And when I click on execute, I will get the information like this: what is the GS number, legal name, trade name and everything. So you will pass the same details in the get sync from CP also. You will get the same information as like this API call. So this will fetch the information from the NAC server. This will fetch the data from common portal. Common portal means GSTN server. So I suggest you to use the API call whatever you want here. Next is generate IRN API call, which is a post API call here. Here also you have to pass the same parameters like email ID, usernames and everything. So I am passing the same information. So make sure you try to understand what is the header, what is the query parameter, whether it is a get API call or post API call. You have to understand that, and you have to pass that in the parameters here. So I'm just passing all the details like authentication token and everything. So here you have to send the JSON in the body. So this is the JSON. Now you have to understand what is mandatory, what is not mandatory, what is this dog details, what is the seller details, buyer details and everything. To understand this, just scroll little bit up and click on download, which is the first one. It will download one Excel sheet where it will give you the clear cut information of everything. What is the JSON and what is mandatory and everything. Let's understand this. TAXSCH, which is GST. Here you can see TAXSCH. Pattern is you can send only GST, and its minimum length is 3 and maximum length is 30, and it's mandatory. Next is supply type. These are the different type of supply types. You can pass it out here, where I am passing it as B2B, and it's mandatory also. Next REG, REV, that means reverse charge. You can pass either Y or N only. Here you can see it's not mandatory. If it is not mandatory, you can remove it from the JSON. You can simplify your JSON like that. So next is dog details. What are the dog type you can send? If it is INV means normal invoice, CRN means credit note, DBN means debit note. This is how you will send it. So coming to the invoice number, make sure while testing in sandbox you can enter your company name here in the document number, so that what will happen, this is used by a lot of other persons also. Whenever you try to generate, you will get the message as duplicate IRN. So I suggest you to use your company name and make sure you enter the date, which is today date, so that there won't be any errors. So I'm just passing all the details, and make sure one more thing, whatever the GS number you are passing here in the header parameter and authenticated GS number, that should be the seller GS number. Don't try to use your company GS number as seller. It will give you an e-commerce error here. So I will take you through that also. And it got generated now, and which is acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, IRN number, and signed invoice and signed QR code. So these are the different type of responses you will get it. All these are you will get in the plain JSON. Signed invoice, you don't need to store this. Whatever the data you are uploading to the government portal, that you are getting back in signed invoice, so you don't need to store it. Next is signed QR code. This is the response where you have to pass it in the QR code generated tools, so that one QR image will get generated. You have to store that in your database and give that in the print, so that you don't need to go for the print to the government portal. Everything can be given from your application itself. Let's take a scenario, you generated the IRN but you didn't get the response. So you will try to generate one more time by using the same invoice number. So you will get the message as duplicate IRN whenever you trigger this API call. So that means the IRN got generated by using this invoice number. So the thing here is, next thing what you can do is, you can fetch back the information from the government server by using the two API calls, which is get e-Invoice details by given IRN. So by using this, you have to pass the IRN number in the param1. Okay, so you don't have the IRN number with you. So the best suggestion what I suggest is, instead of using this API call, integrate this API call to fetch back the information, get IRN by dog details. In this API call, just pass the three parameters like document details, document type, document number, document date. You will get the same information for generating the IRN. So I am passing the same details here. Document number, document type is INV for invoice, and document date which I entered is today's date. I am just entering this today's date. Email ID, as I told you, you can pass the same information from here itself. So I am passing the information like email ID, IP address, everything in the parameters, so that I can fetch back the IRN number and QR code response from the government server. And one more thing, you can fetch back the information within 3 days only. After 3 days, you won't get this data. Why? Because government will delete this data from their servers after 3 days. When you click on execute, you will get the same response like acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, IRN number and QR code. Okay. Once these 3 days is last, it will send the data to the GSTN server. We are providing the API calls in GST APIs to fetch back the information after 3 days. So before 3 days you can depend on these API calls to fetch the information. After 3 days you can use the GST and API calls to fetch back the information. And one more thing, in GST API calls, here you will get only seller IRN numbers and QR code. In GST APIs you will get the purchase invoice and QR codes also. Next is cancel IRN. Now we generated one IRN. Now I am just changing the invoice number to generate one IRN number. Now I am changing this getting this IRN. I just want to cancel this IRN right now. So I can do this, but here the problem is you can cancel that IRN number within 24 hours only. After 24 hours you can't cancel that IRN, and if that 24 hours is lost, you can raise the credit note for the same, and you can set up this in the government servers. So and one more thing, once you cancel this IRN number, you can't use the same invoice number throughout the year also. After cancellation also you will get the same message as duplicate IRN from the government server. And IRP, it's not a mandatory thing, you can enter as NAC1 and NAC2. Coming, if you are depending on our APIs, please send only NAC1, don't send NAC2. And next thing is IRN number, cancellation reason and cancellation remarks. To find out this, just go here and just click on e-Invoice API documentation. It will take you to the government server where you can find lot of master list, error list and general master. When you click on general master, here you can see the what are the document types you can send it, and you can see the cancellation reasons, whatever you can send it here. So I am keeping that as same, and I am just trying to cancel the generated IRN. When I click it got cancelled. It will give the cancellation date and everything also. And next is get rejected IRNs. This is not a mandatory API call. When you are depending on two GSPs, you try to generate one invoice by using the two GSPs at one time. Whatever the API call first got triggered to the government server, that will get registered. The next API call from another GSP will get rejected. That you can find it out. Anyhow, you are depending on us, right? So you don't need to integrate this API call if you are going with only one GSP. Next is generate Eable API call, where you can enter all the details. First, what you will do, you will generate a IRN here. Then by using that IRN, you can generate the Eable. So there is a chance of generating the e-Invoice and Eable in one API call. But the problem is when there is data wrong in some of the Eable data, the IRN will get generated, but you won't get any message for Eable. You will get the message as null. So what I suggest is, don't try to integrate e-Invoice and Eable in one API call. Why? Because you won't get the error for Eable. So first generate the IRN now, and after that, by using that IRN number, and you can generate the Eable. So here I need the IRN, whatever the IRN I generated, right, that got cancelled. So I am trying to generate one more IRN number to generate Eable by using that IRN number. Just I am taking the IRN number here. Just I am trying to pass that number and pass some extra parameters like distance, transmode, and export ship details and dispatch details are not mandatory. Why? Because if you are passing already in generating the IRN, government will pull all the details from the IRN itself. So I am just trying to enter the date, transdark and dark date. This is also not mandatory, but I am trying to enter the same details, and when I click on execute, it gives me the Eable number, Eable date, Eable validity also. And the next API call is which is get Eable details by IRN. That means in this API call, what you can do is, you have the Eable number with you, you have the IRN number with you, you want to fetch the Eable number by using that IRN number. So you just pass the details like what is the IRN number, what is the email ID and all those details. By using this API call, you can fetch back the Eable number linked to that IRN, that you can fetch it out by using this API call. So I'm just trying to copy paste all those details now. So make sure you are passing the headers, all those things, some in the query, some in the header. So you just come to our website to understand what should be the header, what should be the query, and all those things. If you pass all of them correct, then it will give you the response. If you got any error codes, we are providing the error codes in the same website itself. And one more thing here, what is in bold, that is mandatory, remaining are not mandatory, so you can ignore that. When you click on execute, you will get the Eable number which is linked to that IRN number. The response will be like this. Is get B2C QR code. This is not a mandatory API call. Companies having turnover less than 500 crores, this is not mandatory, which is a dynamic QR code. This is not given by the government, this is given by the WhiteBooks itself. So here you can pass the basic details like your registered email ID with master GST. This data will get triggered from the WhiteBooks server itself, not from the government server. This won't go to the government server now. So here you can see the seller GST number, means the GST numbers whatever you want, and the IP address you can pass it here. So client ID, secret ID, as per the sandbox or production, whatever it is there, you can pass it here. And username, whatever you are passing above, the same you can pass it here. Document number, whatever the B2C document number, that you can pass it out. Document date, I am just entering as today's date here, which is 2024. I am just entering the value of that invoice. I am just entering the random account numbers, IFSC codes. I am just passing whatever it is, just entering the account name or whatever it is, and 1000. And if it is IGST amount is there, remaining everything you can keep it as 0. And when you click on execute, it will give you the information like this. The QR code, you can pass that in the QR code generated tool to give the QR image, store that in your database, and give it in the print of your invoice. So coming to, these are the different type of API calls given by the government for the e-invoice generation, where close to 11 calls are available for you. Next is when you go to the credentials, we will provide the sandbox and production. For the production, what we are doing means we are giving you the procedure how to create the username and password in the government portal. So this is the PDF which I am going to give you now. So here you can log into the e-invoice website, and you have to go to API registration and user credentials. There you have to click on create API user, it will trigger the OTP. Then select the our company name BBM IT Consulting and create one unique username and password. So when you create the username and password, just go to production authentication call. Here you pass that username and password and GST number whatever you created here. Next is you can find resources. You can find our Postman collection, .NET, PHP, Visual Facts Pro, C#, Node.js, VB.NET, VB6. This is you can download and replace with your email IDs, client IDs, secret IDs, whatever give it, and you can test the application. If you are facing any problem at any point of time, please call our support team. They will try to help you out. Once everything is done, the thing here is you will get a lot of reports from our side. API usage report, here you will get the monthly. In November I made 41 API calls. If you want to know, if you click on all, you will get the total monthly API calls, like what is the username, IP address, and everything. Also everything you can download to Excel from here itself. And one more thing, API e-invoice user wise report, you will get the data as per the username whatever you mentioned here. And one more thing, the best part of our vertical is sub-users, where you can create a sub-user. That means you can become a reseller of our APIs. Just you can sell it to one person. I am just entering the names here. I am entering the email IDs and mobile numbers. I can give the separate client ID and secret ID for that client here. You can add a limit to him. You can assign only 100 API calls, 1000 API calls, like that. So 1000 API calls you can assign. Once that 1000 got crossed, he will get a message when he trigger an API call by saying this: your APIs are expired, please contact your software provider. That means you can become a reseller by using our APIs. So these are the different type of options we have coming to this. If you have any queries, please contact us on these mobile numbers and email IDs. Thank you. Thanks.